Hello and welcome to another episode of Quarantine with Fulbrighters, where we bring you the best and the brightest minds from all over the country. And we have somebody from Lahore who has a master's in Purdue in consumer science. So I'm quite intrigued to know what consumer science is. But first of all, Meher Shahzad Alam, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. So let's just get straight into it. What is consumer science? Is it that when I walk into Hyperstar, they know exactly what I will want, so that they put that at the back, so that I have to go through all the chocolate aisles and pick all the chocolates as well, even though I was there for a dishwasher?
We hope that is the case. So yes, we are hoping to know what consumers are thinking, how they're processing different cues as you walk into a store, as you go on a website, when you browse through the aisles. So yeah, all of that, broadly speaking, it falls within the domain of consumer science or consumer behavior.
So how did
So
you
that
get
is what
into
I
it?
do.
How did you get
How
into
did I
consumer
get into?
science?
That's an interesting story. So back in my undergrad, I did my undergrad in LUMS, and I was majoring in accounting and finance, something I did not like at all. So in my senior year, I ended up doing a project with this instructor who was in consumer behavior, was working in the field of consumer behavior. So that's how I kind of got introduced to it. And the reason that I liked the field so much was that I classify myself as an introvert, and I like thinking about things, and I like thinking about why people are doing what they're doing. So a little bit of psychology, you could say. So that, and combined with marketing, I think was the ultimate, like the best fit for me. So when I was applying for graduate programs, I think consumer behavior and slash consumer science programs were the best fit for my personality. And that's how I got into the field. And the rest is all history.
So I think in Pakistan, most people think in quite binary terms, right? Even when we think about
Hmm.
marketing, it's that broader field of
Hmm.
marketing, and often master's
Hmm.
program tend to be very specific. So people who are
That's
listening
true.
who are quite interested in consumer science, as I am right now as well. What was the master's like? What all did you did? What all did you do at Purdue?
Okay, so my master's program, unlike, so I'd like to talk a little bit about this because most of the students, like I'm in the academic sector, and whenever students talk about marketing, they talk in big umbrella terms. But now I think this is a time and age where, bigger it's the time for specificity. So rather than doing a master's in marketing, do something particular. So that's one thing. And my degree was very research oriented, so I think I lucked out a little in that case, because most of the master's program, if you browse through that, so for anyone who's listening who's interested in a master's in marketing, most of them are industry oriented. So they train you to join the industry, get a role at P&G, for instance, get a role at Unilever, and those companies of the like. But I knew myself, and I knew that I wanted to be in the academic line. So this research based program was one that trained me for it. So, for instance, my courses were seminar classes that I took with PhD students as well. I took a number of courses in econometrics to build my toolkit. Um, to just be able to do the analyses well. I took classes in programming. So kind of like my research, my degree was very holistic. It wasn't just it didn't just train me for the industry, but also trained me to take a role in the academic sector, which is where I am today. So I think how Purdue's degree is different from other degrees is the fact that they also train you, this particular degree, consumer science degree, also trains you for a PhD, for instance. So most of the people in my program were preparing for a PhD program after the end of their masters. So I think that's how it was different from a master's based degree, a general master's.
So when you came back, I mean, Pakistan is experiencing an e-commerce boom. I'm sure there was a lot of demand for consumer scientists, if that is what you are called. Why did you get into
That is
academia?
That's an interesting story. So, and this is also something that is very, when I came back and I floated my CV around various places, that's the feedback I got, that you're probably one of the very few people in Pakistan who have a degree in this field, because it's either mostly MS marketing, so pure marketing side, or it's MS psychology. So there are very few people who have a mixture of the two. So your question was, how did I get into this side? I worked at Nielsen for a year. Again, Nielsen is the research side of things. So I experienced that and experienced the industry side of things for a year. And after that, that was fulfilling, but I actually did not feel very happy with what I was doing. I wanted to bring a change in people's life on a day-to-day basis, and I feel that with my with the career, with the corporate role that I was doing, at least I did not feel that immense fulfillment, and that is why I transitioned to the academic sector. And I've been very happy. So it's been almost little over 2 years that I've been associated with these institutions, and I think that it's very fulfilling to see when I go into the class on a day-to-day basis and I interact with students and I see them learning concepts, I see them responding, I see that light bulb go up in their eyes when I teach them a concept. I think that's very fulfilling. So that's how I got into academia. I'm doing one part of academia, which is teaching right now. I'm not doing the other part, which is research. So I hope to get into that part as well sooner or later.
So what were you not happy with? Hacking our brains to buy more?
I mean, to be honest,
Isn't that what it
what
is?
that is true. That is true. And I think I had a big problem with who are these companies benefiting? They're benefiting their shareholders. So a group of people who are already super rich, they're, we are reading consumers' minds so that they become richer. I mean, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to do more than that with my graduate degree. And I think the Fulbright program is one that really motivates you to go towards that, because there are these conversations. We have these conversations the whole time. I mean, when you write your statement, you think about the impact that your degree is going to have on Pakistan. So right from that step, you start thinking about, okay, how do I make this work for Pakistan? So from that point onwards, and then when you see Fulbrighters doing such amazing work, you are motivated to do even better. So I think this is the little that I could do to make a difference in young minds, or to make a difference in Pakistan, if you will.
I'm genuinely curious about the field as well. So have the algorithms made your life a little easier because they can automatically predict what I would want to buy most likely when I go on Amazon.com? I'm sure there are people
That
who are
is
thinking and designing those algorithms, but is most of the actual work now automated?
That is true. So my project at Purdue, like I worked on it for 4 months, and I've been working on it ever since, is actually artificial intelligence in retailing. And now I'm working on the other side of it, which is the ethics side. You know that what when you go onto Netflix and you browse through your favorite movies, or you go to a website and you shop for something, and then sooner or later you get similar recommendations. So there are two typical consumer responses to it. One would A consumer may feel very, very happy that, oh, the company values me, and the other is like, hey, it's an infringement of my privacy. And I think that's the second part that you are alluding to. And I think there's a growing debate around this topic that, is this okay? Is this okay? Yes, companies exactly know what especially those operating in the e-commerce sector, they know when you click, whether you've clicked on the left panel, the right panel, the boxes in the center, what you've bought, where you've in fact, the purchase journey is so accurately traced. So you get emails like, oh, you have items in your shopping cart, do you want to complete that journey? I mean, just imagine, that is just a very, very small, probably menial example of what they're doing, but they are capturing each and everything. So while it's great for the companies, yes, Amazon, in the future, they even say that they might introduce a shipping then shopping model, which is that they might ship items to your doorstep and have you choose, and then the items that you don't like, you can send them back, and that's again based on what you have been shopping in the past. Other than that, you walk into a store, think about the future. You get into an Uber, and the Uber is automated, and they exactly know how your day has been, and they know that, oh, on this typical route you pick milk up on the way, you pick your husband on. So it's crazy if you think of it. And I mean, there's so much that can be done, but the other bigger debate around this time and age is around privacy. That is this okay? And are companies protecting me? And now companies are taking some steps. For instance, Facebook in their Facebook, no, Amazon, no, actually I think it's Apple in
I
their
don't
latest
trust any of
update.
these companies.
So Apple in their latest update now ask app to not track, right? This is because of the debate around this topic. So it's great for companies, but I think there need to be some check and balances.
Yeah. I mean, we don't even get emails, there are items in your cart anymore. We get emails now. You still want that jockey XL black shorts. It's that specific.
Exactly. Exactly. That is so true. That is 100% true.
And
Uh,
go for it.
Yeah, so no, that's what I was trying to say, that it is they know each, they can read your minds. And with these conversations around, I mean, I'm sure like a couple of years ago, maybe 5 years ago, I was in Atlanta, I was on the Fulbright program, and I heard these friends saying that, oh, this friend was talking to another friend on the phone about XYZ thing, and the next day he started getting ads. This was back in 2017, and I didn't believe it. I was like, no, how is it true? But now I think each and every one of us would agree to this, that you talk to someone on the phone about something, and the next day you are hearing ads. It's again through the microphone, right? Because if your microphone is activated, you're connected to the internet the whole time. Boom,
They're
there you
lying,
go.
right?
You're
When they
information.
say we're not listening to you, they're lying, right?
They are listening. They are listening. Um, I am sure they are. They are
That's what
listening.
I feel as well. It's all, only later that we will discover that they've been listening all the time. I mean, when you say Alexa, play a song, so Alexa is clearly active and trained to
Alexa is
hear
clearly.
Alexa. So clearly it's on.
Exactly,
So it's clearly listening even
exactly.
the other times.
Exactly, exactly. There you go. It is listening the whole time. So, what, and there are these, so people in the like computer science domain often ask you, it's an old hack that, keep your cameras, blocked. So keep your cameras blocked with a chit or a small paper, just for the same reason that, whenever you're connected to the internet, even if your camera is not on, um, they have that information. So I mean,
So
it's great for companies, but
yeah.
yeah.
Since
Yeah.
you're in the field, if you and I are
Hmm.
talking, so let's say there was a Google Home or an Alexa, and it heard me say jockey shorts, would it be
Hmm.
able to pick that? Would the algorithm be able to pick that he said those words, jockey shorts, and then start showing me ads for
I'm
that?
I'm very certain. I mean, there are actually no two thoughts on it. That if it's linked to Alexa, it's Alexa is in your room, you're connected to the internet. I would be very surprised if you would not be getting ads for those. So it would be a little bit weird. So I think they are listening the whole time. They are recording everything that you're doing, recording where you're going. When you go to a new place, they immediately say, "Hey, you're in the new city." I mean, who updated you? Didn't even search for it. You just landed in that city. So just by using GPS, Wi-Fi. So there is so much that they are tracking. So if you think of it.
So if we can actually talk about the ethics of all of this, I mean, the things like smart refrigerators now that can order when milk has run out. People might just look at that as a convenience. But can you
Right.
please talk about how that is unethical?
I mean, that's the other side of it that I would want to be researching on actually. And there's a growing debate around it. It is, in my opinion, so there are two opinions on it. One is that it increases convenience, and the other is that it is unethical. And and I think companies now are giving you that choice whether or not whether or not you want your movements to be recorded, whether or not you want your actions to be recorded, which is what I was talking of in the latest Apple update. That now they're giving the option. And by the way, I have a friend who's working at Amazon, and they said that Amazon was very upset when Apple introduced this latest update. The reason was that you know Amazon relies on them being able to track what you're doing on other applications as well, so that they can send you relevant ads. So it was very upsetting for people who are working in the ads domain in Amazon, because they saw a big revenue hit. So to come back to the ethics point of view, I think that there need to be more think tanks, there need to be more conversations around whether all of this is ethical or not. And if it's not ethical, then what steps are companies taking to make consumers feel more comfortable with the entire Cambridge Analytica episode? And I think that they just say things to placate consumers, and don't take any steps after it. But there should be conversations, there should be research around this, that what are the ways, because companies are there to make profit, so they will want to know as much about their customers as they can, and some people are okay with it. But for those of us who are not okay with it, what are companies doing, and how can companies protect our data from being leaked? Every now and then we hear that, oh, I get emails, not the whole time, but it's not very infrequent now to see an email that, oh, your number was in a data breach recently, so you may want to take some extra steps to protect your account. I mean, that makes me think that, where did my information go? Where's my information being used? And with with wrong activities going on right and center, you never know. So I think there needs to be conversations around it.
I mean, we can't expect companies not to incentivize profits. As I said, I don't really trust these big tech companies at
Exactly.
all. Apple maybe can do
Mm,
something on an individual level.
mm,
But other than that, unless there's regulation, there's very little you and I can do to protect
absolutely.
ourselves, right? I think Europe
Absolutely.
has now
Absolutely.
has legislation where if you go to a European website, they specifically ask you about cookies, even though it's the acceptance is
Hmm.
designed in a tricky way to ensure that you
Yes.
accept the cookies, but at
Yes.
least you get that, which you don't even get in websites outside of.
Otherwise. Absolutely. I mean, that's so right that you should at least be given the option. And sometimes they design these waiver forms in a way that you have no option but to accept, which is kind of funny. And why are you even asking? Accept terms and conditions. Can I even move forward without accepting? No, you can't. So you're like, okay, might just accept it. But yes, there need to be regulations on around this, like you said. And it's Europe has always been a little ahead of the US in terms of consumer rights in general, as far as I can see, because the US has a more capitalistic kind of mindset, which is fine. They're benefiting us as well. They're making great products, products that have eased our lives. So that's one side of it. A lot of people are enjoying online shopping. So, like I said at the start too, they're differing opinions on it. But there need to be conversations around how do we protect consumers' data? How do we, ensure that privacy? Yeah.
So
Um,
would you say that it's worse in America because they're much smarter about it, that they have algorithms, or would you say it's worse in Pakistan where they're even more blatant about it, that you that directly get a phone call saying, are you looking for laundry? We're a laundry in your area. And I'm like, how did you get my number? And they're like, we bought your number from a database, which should be blatantly illegal. But all of us get these telecalls, which none of us signed up for, but somebody has sold our data to them.
Shahad, I think it's common in both. But you're right in saying that it's a little more blatant in Pakistan. But even in the US now, something that did not happen while I was on the Fulbright program was that I never got like these voting messages that, you like in the 2020 elections. So I was there when the 2016 elections were held, and I did not get any promotion messages that, you're this person from your county is standing, you may want to vote for him. But now we're getting those as well. Those promotional messages are a little fewer in the US, I want to say, but here in Pakistan, it's a lot more out in the open. But now carriers are giving that option. For instance, Zong is, I heard that ad recently where they're saying that you can block those ads. But that doesn't mean that they don't have the information. You can just block it. And you can report it as well. So they're blocking and reporting are two options that Zong, I believe, is giving, not PTA, but Zong. So Zong or one of these carriers. So I think, yeah, in Pakistan, it's a little out in the open, but it also happens in the US.
So if we do actually talk about your work now, you're teaching at BNU, you're teaching at LUM, you mentioned that you have a different pedagogy from, and that's, even though I will take no slight against our alma mater, but there were clearly some things you did not like while doing your ACF program. Maybe it was because you were in the ACF program, but well, how
Right.
is your pedagogy different? What are you bringing to the table? What have you learned from the Fulbright that makes you a different teacher?
Sure. So I don't have anything against the ACF program because I just wanted to clarify this because
I
I'm
do.
teaching there too. I think the ACF program is great. I was just not the best fit for the ACF program. Let me just say that because I did not like accounting and finance. So that's my personal preference. But to talk about what I am doing in the classroom on a day-to-day basis, I realize that this is a generation where they have reduced attention spans. This is a generation where they want constant engagement. So some of the things that I am doing is, for instance, in one of my classes, I am very active on teacher training platforms. So I keep training, I keep taking these trainings to see what I can do better. One of the methods that was used was, it's called the postcard method of learning. So it's actually very cool that at the end of every module, in any course, I ask students to make a postcard from whatever they have learned. And that allows them to be so creative. I've seen some of the best work being reflected through that postcard method, because students can pick up like one or two concepts, anything that stuck to their mind, and make a postcard out of it. The second thing that I have done is that I teach probability and statistics as well. Probability and statistics as a course is supposed to be really dry, really boring. Students are just, they just want to get done with the class. but I've tried to make it engaging. I've been teaching online, so I've been using a lot of breakout rooms. I question my idea through the lecture is that I should have a question every 5 minutes. And now that's a tough call sometimes because I also have content to cover. So, but you need to have a fair balance between the two, because if you have content to cover and you have a lot of questions, that might, one might take precedence over the other. But that's one thing that I have done. The third thing that I've done, I think, which is most important, is that I try to be a little more empathetic in my classes. Sometimes it's sympathetic hearing. That's all that students need. If they come to you with a problem regarding their groups, if they come, students now come to us with even personal problems. And sometimes they say to me that, oh, you've been a student at LUM, so you would most likely understand our problems. So, it's sometimes just guiding them. And that's something I learned through the Fulbright program as well, that my instructors in the US, and I think you would agree too, they always gave us the benefit of doubt, which I feel is a little lacking in Pakistan. In Pakistan, we always start with, he must be lying. And we go from there, he must be making an excuse, which might be true, but, um, that element of trust, that if a student says that I wasn't well, and if you can take my quiz again, and if it's not too much of a bother, and if it aligns with your policies in general, I mean, just go out of the way and do it for them, make it an experience which is memorable for them. So that's one thing that I learned from the US. The other thing was that my program in Purdue was very skill based, like I talked of at the start as well. So I try to build those same skills in my classes, in my probability statistics classes, as well as my business research classes. Students should not be limited to the textbook knowledge. So I am not one of those instructors. I always write in my exams, be as detailed as you can, but also be precise. Less is more. That's something that I've learned from the US, the art of precision. That is not common in Pakistan. So you have to train them to be precise, to write well, to be able to articulate well. And those skills, I for one did not know. I don't know about you, but I did not have them in my undergraduate program. So that's the second thing that I've tried to do in my classes, make it a more skills based class, because the future is more, it's not going to be on degrees. Like a lot of these companies have said that we don't need your degree, we just need your skills. So try to make it a program that's more skills based, have more empathy, skills based program, and have more methodologies in class that engage students. That one way approach, that didactic learning, I don't think that is how it's going to work. And to that end, I also have WhatsApp group for my classes, which is something that I never thought of as a student, that it's an infringement of my instructor's privacy. I can't even get their number. But now again, it's a generation where you have to be constantly in touch. You need to solve their problems, because I genuinely believe that anxiety and depression are problems that are more common today. And this is a good part about the US, that those conversations, I think every university has CAPS, which is the psychological, I don't know what CAPS exactly stands for, but every university has it, like a center where you can go if you have if you want to talk to someone. So if an instructor can also provide that structure, that I am there for you, I'm on your side. That's what I tell my students, I'm on your side, I'm not on the other side. So trust in me and trust the process, and hopefully good things will come out for both of us.
I have
So I
no
think
idea
that's what
how
I do.
you're spreading yourself so thin. I cannot even imagine having WhatsApp groups with students and have being so accessible to them. I have no idea how you manage that, but more power to you.
But it's honestly the need of the hour. Well, you can have like two phones, but I just have one phone, which is my personal phone. So I maintain that distance, in a sense that students have never messaged me, but yes, my WhatsApp groups keep ringing the whole time, and they actually prefer that. They keep telling me that we are inundated with by emails. So if you can make this a little more easier for us, and one way of making it easy is to have announcements via WhatsApp groups or any other groups on Slack. It can even be Slack. But having like a personal chat group with the class is what I was trying to say, and being available. I think all teachers of this age will agree to this, that you need to be available if you want students to be feel more connected to you.
I think it's
So that's the thing.
going the extra step, and those counseling programs are very, very important. I think a teacher can never replace those, because their experts in their field, they know. And sometimes when students do come to you with their problems, you don't even have a solution. You can absolutely listen, but you
Definitely.
can't be a substitute therapist, because again,
No.
you're not trained to do that.
Definitely not. And I often tell my students whenever they come to me that, I am here to listen to you, but I always refer them to
Yes.
there's a center at Lumps as well. I always refer them if I have a personal, any therapist that I know of in my circle, I refer them to them as well, because the reason is that I am not trained. But what I was trying to say was sympathetic hearing, the first line, it sometimes they just need someone to tell them that one, it will be okay, and two, it's okay to seek therapy as well. So those conversations need to be normalized too in the academic sector. And I think that we are not having those conversations. Students are very, very anxious. Like just the other day, I had a student come in and she was like, I am not going to see the marks on my exam because it gives me anxiety. And I was like, are you okay? Like, I calmed her down and I said that, I think if we can have that conversation, initial conversation, but I do think that you should, if it gives you that much anxiety, you should talk to someone about it. And she was like, no, no, no one's going to understand me. The typical response. So yeah, those conversations need to be a little more normal.
Absolutely. I think even our generation to a certain extent were the bridge, but the
Definitely.
older generation for sure does not understand the Gen Z's
Hmm.
anxiety, and just because they do not feel it, they have a very different experience. They grow up in a very different life. I genuinely think these things add so much anxiety to everybody's lives,
Anxiety.
just
Definitely.
exacerbated by social media. So you, if you do put yourself in their shoes, you will realize everything that they go through. You might have had different struggles growing up without the phone, without social
Hmm.
media, and
Hmm.
it doesn't make those invalid. But clearly, I think these kids are growing up in the most anxious times, and I
They
genuinely
are.
feel, or at least hope, that the next generation will realize what were we doing by giving our kids iPads and phones, and hopefully there would be regulation around that. But till then, we have to protect these children.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, you can't, on one side, you can have regulation, but if you take away an iPad from a kid, everyone around him is having it is has an iPad. So either there's a whole regulation that all the parents of the world understand this, which I don't think is going to be possible. So regulation on limiting screen time, I think that's what you're
Yes.
alluding to, right?
I mean, there should be limited
Limiting
screen
it.
time. There should be a certain age
Hmm.
before that you shouldn't give it to a child. I think, sure, that they can be a bit more draconian, but there are countries which have regulations where certain social media sites for children are educational to a certain time, and then they switch to
Hmm.
entertainment. So it's a lot more scheduled and coordinated. It's not where at 3 a.m. you could be in an Instagram feud which would destroy your entire week and make you anxious. I think we
That's
really need to have a
true.
lot more empathy when we think about what our children are going through.
Definitely, definitely. And I think teaching is one of those professions that allows me to be in that position where I can bring change. So that is why it's very humbling and
And
empowering.
it's great work that you're doing. If before we
Thank
end
you.
this, you can share a Fulbright memory with us, because we always say it's the experience, it's not just the education. So
That is true.
what about your experience do you think of when I ask you for your favorite memory?
My favorite, I have so many memories in the US, and I feel so. Do you want me to tell one memory or
You can
just
tell
a
several as well.
several as well? Okay, okay, okay. The one good thing about the Fulbright program is that, well, out of the multiple good things, it's fully funded. So I got to travel so much. I went around 28 states, and that's a number that I am trying to beat now. I want to go to 50. But 20 was what I was able to do in those 2 years. And so Purdue has a very big, like, Fulbright association. So the fact that we were able to, like, they would regularly hold luncheons, dinners, and I was able to connect to them. So I think there were around 80, close to 80 Fulbrighters in the Purdue Fulbright Association at any given point in time. So that sense of community. So that's one. The other thing, one thing that I really enjoyed was, that conference where they allow you to pick any in the US, and you can do it in the first or the second year, if you're in a master's program or if you're in a PhD program. I really enjoyed that, and the one thing that really stuck to me from that time was I was in a room. It was in a conference in Houston at, I think, hosted at Rice University, and the State Department representative was talking, and she said, "Never again will you be in a room where you have people from 80 different nationalities." So there were around 100 people in that room from 80 different nationalities. So I think the internationality of this program makes it so important for learning. I mean, I have learned so much just outside of the classroom. The classroom part is just maybe 1/4 of it. I can do that same learning through Coursera as well. But that experience, that is one really poignant memory that I have. Other than that, we went to the NASA Center in Houston, so that's one. And just travel. For me, it was the exposure. For me, it was interacting with people of many nationalities that I would not have had an experience like otherwise. Typically, how many people do you interact with? Maybe like people from 20 different nationalities, but 80 in the same room, and you're learning about their cultures, you're learning about their traditions, and the fact that the program is so prestigious. You have so many heads of states who have gone through the Fulbright program. I mean, it's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity for anyone, like if you get the chance, for anyone who's listening, if you are thinking to apply, or if you have gotten the chance and are a little bit confused, I think you should take it. You can bet your life on it that it will be the best experience of your life so far.
I second that wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. And thank you for listening. We'll be back again next week with another guest. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.